Chaos always chooses the most ordinary moments to explode. That morning, inside the country's largest international airport, the world shifted in a way that no one present would ever forget. It wasn't a flight delay. It wasn't a malfunction. It wasn't even a security breach. It was something far more unbelievable, far more dramatic, and far more revealing about the hidden nature of people when fate forces them into the spotlight. It all began the moment a group of masked criminals stormed the boarding area. Panic tore through the terminal like a shockwave. Luggage toppled. People ran in every direction. Shouts collided with alarms. But in the middle of the chaos, trapped between luggage carts and concrete pillars, stood a woman who had nowhere to escape. The cleaner. A woman the world sees every day, yet never looks at. A woman the universe had just chosen for a story far bigger than her uniform. And then something so absurd happened that it almost defied logic. An Indian billionaire stepped forward. Not a celebrity, not a bodyguard, not a policeman, a billionaire. The kind of man who owns private jets, not problems. The kind of man who negotiates with governments, not criminals. The kind of man who refuses to lift a finger unless it benefits him. Yet on that day, in that airport, he lifted far more than a finger. The crowd watched in disbelief as he lunged at one of the criminals like an action movie stunt double. Some said later that it was bravery, others claimed it was insanity, and others, those who knew him well, said it was just his ego needing an audience. Whatever the reason, he grabbed the cleaner, shielded her with his body, pulled her out of the line of danger, and took a blow that could have killed her instead. He saved her life. When the police regained control, when the criminals were pinned to the floor, when the terminal finally exhaled, the cleaner could barely stand. She trembled. She cried. She tried to thank him, but her voice only came out in gasps. And then came the moment that turned the entire airport silent. The billionaire didn't brush her gratitude aside. He didn't say, "Don't worry about it." He didn't say, "I'm glad you're safe." Instead, he looked at her with an unsettling smile. Sharp, strategic, calculating, the kind of smile that suggested he had already turned her survival into a debt. He leaned in slightly, just enough for the surrounding people to hear, and said, "I saved your life. Now you owe me. And what I want isn't money." The debt. No one expected. When a hero reveals his true motive, the terminal was still trembling from the chaos when the billionaire delivered his demand. Passengers stared with the kind of disbelief normally reserved for the endings of unbelievable movies. The cleaner, still shaking from the shock of nearly dying, blinked rapidly, unsure if she had heard him correctly. But she had. His tone wasn't playful, nor grateful, nor humble. It was intentional, sharp, heavy, as if saving her life had been a calculated investment, and now he was claiming his return. Airport security approached slowly, unsure whether they should intervene or stay silent. Even they sensed that something bigger was unfolding, something layered, something dangerous. The billionaire stood tall, adjusting his expensive suit as if he had just stepped out of a boardroom rather than a brawl. His posture radiated confidence, almost arrogance, the kind only possessed by men who believe the world owes them something simply because they exist. The cleaner opened her mouth, but no words came. She wasn't used to speaking to powerful men. She wasn't used to being the center of attention. She wasn't used to being saved. And she certainly wasn't used to having her life turned into a transaction by someone whose shoes cost more than her monthly rent. He leaned closer, lowering his voice in a way that made the scene even more unsettling. "You owe me," he repeated. Not as a joke, not as a flirtation, but as a declaration. The crowd watched, hungry for context, terrified of the implications. For a moment, the cleaner wondered if she should run. But where? Back into danger. Into the arms of a man whose intentions were even harder to predict than the criminals who had tried to take hostages moments earlier. She swallowed hard, her voice shaking as she asked, "What do you want from me?" The billionaire smiled, a slow, controlled, unsettling smile. "I want something you can give," he said. "Something only you can give." The sentence didn't clarify anything. It only made the atmosphere denser, like the air had thickened with tension and unanswered questions. People around them exchanged fearful glances. Even his bodyguards, trained to obey, shifted uncomfortably. The cleaner felt her heartbeat pounding in her ears. She wasn't naive. She had lived enough life to know that powerful men rarely ask for favors that honor those beneath them. She braced herself, ready for the worst. But then, something strange happened. Something she did not expect. A flicker of fear flashed in the billionaire's eyes. Not hunger, not desire, not dominance, fear. The cleaner frowned, confused. Why would a man with wealth, security, influence, and a global empire be afraid? What could she possibly possess that he didn't? But before she could ask, he said the sentence that changed the entire meaning of his demand. "You're not who you pretend to be." The cleaner froze. The world seemed to tilt. Passengers gasped softly. He continued, voice low and unsettlingly calm. "I saw what you dropped when I pulled you from the attack. Your badge wasn't a simple employee ID. It was something else, something hidden." Her blood went cold. He had seen it. The object she kept tucked behind her uniform. The object she prayed no one would ever recognize. The object connected to a past she had spent years running from. A past that made her far more dangerous and far more valuable than anyone in that terminal knew. She tried to speak, but the billionaire raised a finger, silencing her. "I saved your life," he said softly, "because I know who you really are. And now you're going to help me." The cleaner's body trembled, not with fear, but with the realization that her old life was no longer a ghost. It was standing in front of her, wearing a billionaire's suit and a smile sharp enough to cut through destiny. And the worst part, she had no idea how much he truly knew. If you're enjoying this story and want the next twist, subscribe now so you don't miss what happens when her hidden identity collides with his impossible request. The woman the world ignored, and the secret she hoped would never be seen. The cleaner stood frozen, her breath caught in her chest, as if the billionaire's words had wrapped invisible hands around her throat. She had lived a life built on silence, a life of disappearing into crowds, a life of lowering her gaze when powerful people walked by, a life where her uniform was not just clothing, it was camouflage. She had become an expert at being unseen. It was her greatest survival skill. But now, somehow, this man, this billionaire, with a famously inflated ego and a history of manipulating everything around him, had pierced straight through the disguise she spent years perfecting. Her pulse throbbed behind her eyes. "What do you think you know about me?" she whispered. The billionaire stared at her for a long moment, not with mockery, not with superiority, with something more dangerous, recognition. "When I pulled you away from the attacker," he said, "something fell out of your pocket. You hid it quickly, but not quickly enough." She felt her stomach drop. Her hand instinctively pressed against the side of her uniform where the object rested. Small, metallic, and powerful enough to ruin the fragile life she had built. The billionaire continued. "Most people would think it was just a broken badge or a piece of old tech, but I've seen devices like that before. I know exactly what it is." Her legs wavered. Because he was right. It wasn't an employee ID. It wasn't a cleaning company badge. It wasn't anything that belonged to the life she lived now. It was a fragment of her old world, a world she fled, a world of encrypted identities, classified operations, and dangerous men who wanted her erased permanently. But she couldn't show fear. Not yet. She kept her voice steady. "You don't know what you're talking about." He stepped closer, lowering his voice to a razor-sharp whisper. I know you weren't born to clean floors. I know you weren't meant to be invisible. And I know someone with your past doesn't just show up in a random airport unless she's running from something." Her breath caught. The passengers around them pretended not to look, but their eyes betrayed their curiosity. The bodyguards shifted, feeling the tension thickening in the air. The officers who had responded to the chaos suddenly kept a careful distance. The billionaire continued. "When I saw that device, everything made sense. The way you moved, the way you scanned the room subconsciously, the way you reacted to the attackers before most people even processed what was happening. That instinct is trained, refined, rare." She felt exposed, as though he had peeled back every layer she built to hide behind. She swallowed hard. "You don't know what you're getting yourself into." He tilted his head. "That's exactly why I saved you." Her eyes widened. Saved her? Or cornered her? He stepped closer still. "I didn't save your life because you're a stranger. I saved it because you're the only person alive who can help me with what's coming." Her voice cracked. "Help you with what?" He paused, then said a name she hadn't heard in years, a name from her past, a name she never expected to hear come from anyone in this country. Her entire body went cold. "How do you know that name?" she whispered. The billionaire smirked, not with arrogance, but with the exhausted confidence of a man standing at the edge of a war he can't win alone. "Because," he said, "the man you're hiding from is the same man who's coming for me." Her knees nearly buckled. For years, she had avoided this truth. For years, she had covered her tracks. For years, she buried her identity deep enough to forget who she used to be. But life has a cruel habit of bringing the past back at the exact moment you feel safe enough to breathe. Now, standing in an airport still echoing with chaos, she realized something terrifying. She wasn't the only one being hunted. If you want the next twist and don't want to miss how her past collides with his danger, subscribe now so you stay with the story until the final reveal. When the billionaire's fear meets her past, the man both of them cannot escape. The moment that name left the billionaire's lips, the cleaner felt the world tilt beneath her feet. It was a name she had scrubbed out of her memory, pushed into the darkest corners of her mind, buried beneath years of pretending to be someone else. Hearing it again was like being dragged backward through time, straight into the jaws of the life she had fought to escape. She stepped back instinctively, the handle of her cleaning cart shaking under her grip. "Say that name again," she whispered, her voice breaking between disbelief and terror. The billionaire didn't need to repeat it. It hung in the air like a curse. Passengers nearby sensed the shift, though they didn't know the meaning. They only saw the cleaner's face draining of color, the billionaire's expression tightening, and the tension thickening until even the walls seemed to hold their breath. She steadied herself. "How do you know him?" The billionaire exhaled sharply, as though he had been carrying the weight of that answer for far too long. "Because he contacted me last week." Her heartbeat stuttered, the world narrowed. She whispered, "That's impossible. He's dead." The billionaire shook his head. "No, he's very much alive, and he wants something from me." Her fingers trembled. Her worst nightmare had returned. The man they were talking about wasn't a criminal. He wasn't a politician. He wasn't a drug lord or a gang leader. He was something far more dangerous. A ghost with power, influence, and a talent for tracking people who didn't want to be found. She had once worked under him, trusted him, feared him, and when she discovered what he truly was, she ran. And now she wasn't the only one he wanted. The billionaire continued, "He didn't ask, he demanded, and when I refused, he threatened everything. My family, my empire, my life." Her pulse hammered in her ears. "So you think I can help you face him?" He shook his head. No, I know you can. She stared at him. Why me? The billionaire took a step closer, his voice dropping into a rare tone. Sincerity mixed with desperation, stripped of arrogance. Because the device you're carrying, it's not just a tracking chip, it's access. Access to the only database he's ever feared. Access to everything he's hiding. Access to the only thing that can destroy him. Her chest tightened. She had forgotten the device was even still with her. A piece of technology she spent years avoiding, a remnant of her past that she once swore never to use again. She thought she had left that world behind. But the past doesn't disappear just because you want it to. The billionaire continued, you and I are connected by one thing. He wants both of us gone. The only difference is, you know how he thinks. She swallowed hard. Memories she had locked away clawed their way back. Missions she was forced into, orders she couldn't refuse. The moment she realized she was just another disposable piece on his board. And the night she escaped him, the night she faked her own death. The billionaire's voice shook. Help me, and I swear I'll protect you. She laughed once, not out of humor but bitterness. You protect me? You can't even protect yourself from him. Silence. Then the billionaire said something that shifted everything. I didn't save you today because I'm a hero. I saved you because I need you alive, because you're the only person he ever failed to catch. Her breath caught. That wasn't just fear in his voice. It was admiration and desperation. He stepped closer. He's coming, for both of us. And I don't have much time. The cleaner felt her body trembling, not from weakness, but from the realization that the one thing she had run from all these years had now collided with her life again, and she wouldn't survive it alone. She looked up slowly, meeting the billionaire's eyes. What exactly do you want me to do? He responded with the words that changed everything. I want you to come with me. If you want the next chapter of this story and don't want to miss the moment she decides whether to run or fight, subscribe now and stay with us until the final twist. The proposal she never expected, when a billionaire asks a cleaner to save his life. The words struck her harder than the criminal's attack, harder than the billionaire's demand for repayment, harder than the ghost of her past returning from the dead. I want you to come with me. No hesitation, no apology, no explanation. Just a command wrapped in desperation. She stared at him as if he had lost his mind. Go with you where? He didn't blink. To the only place where we stand a chance. The terminal seemed to shrink around them. Every sound, rolling suitcases, airport announcements, echoing footsteps, faded under the gravity of those 6 words. The billionaire looked different now. The polished mask of arrogance had cracked, revealing a man terrified for his own life, and convinced that hers was the only one capable of saving it. She crossed her arms, grounding herself. I don't work for you. I don't owe you anything. His jaw tightened. You owe me your life. Passengers gasped. Even he knew the sentence tasted wrong the moment it left his mouth. The cleaner's eyes hardened. You didn't save my life out of kindness. You saved it because you think you can use me. For a moment, the billionaire looked wounded, almost human. Then he exhaled sharply. You're right, I do need you. But if he finds you first, you won't survive. Neither will I. The truth rolled between them like a storm cloud. She looked away, wrestling with emotions she never allowed herself to feel. She had spent years rebuilding a life from nothing, years pretending to be invisible, years convincing herself that the old world no longer existed. But the billionaire's words resurrected every nightmare she had buried. You think I want to get dragged back into that hell? She whispered. He stepped closer, closer than anyone had dared to stand since she disappeared. You won't be dragged. You'll walk in with the one person he doesn't expect. She clenched her teeth. And who is that? He answered without blinking. Me. Her jaw dropped. You're insane. The billionaire actually laughed. Dry, bitter, exhausted. Probably. But insanity is better than dying at his hands. She stared at him. For the first time, she saw past the private jets, the empire, the reputation, the wealth that insulated him from reality. Beneath the expensive suit stood a man who had lived in fear for far too long. A man who understood exactly what kind of monster was coming for them. A man who, despite his arrogance, was brave enough to stand in the path of a threat no one else would face. He leaned in, lowering his voice. I know you ran from him. I know why you disappeared. And I know what he did to you. Her chest tightened. He knew too much. She shook her head, voice trembling with anger and fear. You don't know anything about me, he whispered. Then tell me. Her breath caught. He wasn't commanding now. He was asking. She looked at him, really looked at him, past the wealth and the ego and the fear. And for the first time, she saw a man who was not using her, but clinging to the only hope he had left. He straightened his coat, his expression sharpening again. There's a car waiting outside. If you walk out of this airport alone, he will track you down within hours. If you walk out with me, I can protect you long enough for you to protect both of us. The way he said it made her skin crawl. Protect us how? He swallowed. By doing the one thing you promised you would never do again. Her heart stopped. He knew exactly who she used to be. She felt her past tearing open like an old wound. I'm not that person anymore. He shook his head. You'll have to be, if we want to live. Her throat burned as she fought the panic rising inside her. The man she once served, the man who once owned her fate, the man who now wanted her dead, would not stop until he had silenced them both. And the billionaire, for all his arrogance, for all his power, was right about one thing. Running would only delay the inevitable. The billionaire held out his hand, not with entitlement, but with urgency. Come with me, not because I saved your life, not because you owe me. Come with me because he won't stop until one of us is dead. Her pulse thundered in her ears. She didn't take his hand. She didn't agree. She didn't refuse. She said the only thing that mattered. What exactly are you planning to do? The billionaire smiled. Something he'll never expect. If you want the next chapter and don't want to miss the moment she decides whether to run or fight, subscribe now so you stay with the story until the final twist. The price of the past. When she learns what the billionaire truly wants from her, approx to 3,500 characters, ready for narration. The billionaire's answer hung in the air like a blade suspended above both their lives. Something he'll never expect. His tone wasn't just confident, it was unnervingly certain. The certainty of a man who had already made a decision so dangerous, so unpredictable, so reckless, that even the woman trained to navigate danger felt her pulse spike. She stepped back, her instincts screaming, "You're hiding something, what aren't you telling me?" He inhaled deeply as if preparing for a confession he had no desire to make. The terminal lights flickered overhead, casting long shadows that stretched across the polished airport floor. The cleaner could feel every pair of eyes lingering on them. Curious passengers, anxious guards, shaken staff. But none of them understood that the true threat wasn't outside the building. It wasn't in the criminals who had stormed the airport. It wasn't even in the billionaire's unsettling demand. The true threat was the man whose name had resurfaced, the man they were both running from. The billionaire lowered his gaze. For once, his confident facade cracking enough to reveal the truth underneath. "He didn't just threaten me," he whispered. "He gave me an ultimatum." Her stomach knotted. "What kind of ultimatum?" The billionaire met her eyes. "One that I can't escape without you." She shook her head violently. "You're dragging me into your war." He shook his back. "No, you were already in it. You've been in it since the day you ran." Her blood turned cold. She wanted to deny it, to pretend she had outrun her past, to believe she had escaped. But deep down, she always knew the truth. She hadn't escaped. She had only delayed the inevitable. The billionaire continued, "He wants me to hand over access to something I don't have, something only you can unlock." Her throat tightened. "And what's that?" He hesitated. Then the words came out slowly. "The original database." Her heart nearly stopped. The database wasn't a simple file. It wasn't a list. It wasn't evidence. It was the entire skeleton of a secret organization built on manipulation, leverage, blackmail, and control. It contained identities, locations, financial trails, political ties, everything that made powerful men untouchable, everything that could destroy them. She stared at him in horror. "You actually think I can access that?" He nodded. "You're the only one who ever did." Her legs trembled. That was a lifetime ago. He stepped closer, voice low and shaking with urgency. "And he never forgave you for it. That's why he thought you were dead. That's why he lost track of you. And that's why he wants you back, not for revenge, but for the database." She felt a wave of nausea rising. Memories she tried to bury erupted. Rooms with no windows, missions she never consented to, codes she memorized out of survival, and the night she found the courage to flee, taking one fragment of the system with her. The encrypted device hidden in her uniform. She swallowed. "And what do you want from me?" The billionaire didn't flinch. "The same thing he wants." Her breath shattered. "You want the database too?" He shook his head. "I want to destroy it." Silence. Thick, heavy, suffocating. She stared at him. "You're lying." His voice cracked. "No, I'm done being afraid. I'm done being his pawn. And if destroying that database burns down everything he built, then so be it." She stepped closer, lowering her voice into a whisper. "You don't understand what that database is. If you destroy it, you won't just start a war. You'll unleash every monster it contains." He held her gaze. "I know." Her breath hitched. "And you expect me to help you destroy it?" He nodded slowly. "You're the only one who can." She looked away, wrestling with the truth, the danger, the memories. Helping him would put her on a collision course with the man she feared most. Refusing him would leave both of them exposed and hunted. No choice was safe. No path was survivable. The billionaire's voice softened, almost pleading. "You don't owe me because I saved your life. You owe me because if he finds that database, humanity loses." She closed her eyes, tears burning behind her lids. He wasn't asking for a favor. He was asking for a sacrifice. Her sacrifice. Then she opened her eyes, steady and sharp, transformed by resolve she thought she had lost forever. "Fine, I'll help you," she whispered. "But once we do this, there's no turning back." The billionaire exhaled, relieved but terrified. He nodded. No turning back. And for the first time, they understood something undeniable. They weren't partners by choice. They were partners by doom.